Welcome to the Masters Grand Prix. And it's a privilege today to introduce to you the first female sprinter we have here in the Masters. And it's great that we have Kirstin King, who's a vet, 55, and won many different championships throughout the years, worlds, Europeans, as well as setting her own UK records. So the very talented Kirstin King, over to you, good self. So how are you today?
First of all, thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm not worthy. And I'm good. I'm good, actually. Just finished training, so I've come straight from the track.
So when did you actually first sort of step onto a running track?
After I finished uni. That would have been probably around about 86, something like that, around about 1986, 87. I came back home. I didn't have a job. I went back home, and my brother was like a junior decathlete competing for GB, and my father coached him. So I thought, well, I need to get fit. I hadn't really done very much for years whilst I was at uni, and I just went along one day, and I said, I'll just jog the fields and just do a little bit of warm up, and then that will be me done. And I did that for a couple of weeks, and then one day I was just like, well, I'm just here now, and I want to do something else. So my brother said, well, join in with the drills. So I started doing the drills. I was useless because I didn't really know the skipping drills and all of that. And then it just progressed from there. I loved it. One day he was doing hurdles, and I thought, oh God, that looks really interesting. I'm bored with just warming up and doing the drills. I need to have like motivation to do something else. And the hurdle coach sort of said, well, you know, I can set you up 4 hurdles and just have a go. And I did. And then that was it. I was hooked, absolutely hooked.
Right, okay, 86, 87. And we've got some fantastic footage from one of your great achievements. I hope it's one of your great achievements, that we've got you doing a 60 metres at the 3A's final. And some people remember Cosford. I never got to run at Cosford.
Oh, it was an experience.
In the women's 60 metres, she runs in lane 4 in this race. Her biggest opposition is likely to come from Stephanie Douglas, who was second to her in last year's championships and is drawn alongside her in lane 3. Here's a look at the full lineup. Jane Christian from the Wirral in lane 1, Paula Thomas, Stretford, lane 2, Stephanie Douglas, Milton Keynes, lane 3, Bev Kinch, who runs for Hounslow, lane 4, Helen Miles of Cardiff in lane 5, and an unexpected finalist, young Kirstin Joseph from Milton Keynes in lane 6. A first-time start as well. Stephanie Douglas just up on Kinch at the moment in the orange vest, right in the middle, and it's Stephanie Douglas leading here. Kinch coming back at her, but she can only take the runners-up place, and a very good time too of 7.25 for the winner, Stephanie Douglas. A new personal best and the 3A's title and victory over Bev Kinch. That's quite a performance by her.
Trying to look very casual there, but I'm sure that Stephanie Douglas will be very, very pleased with that race. She got a terrific start there, and I think the start was all important because Bev Kinch at this point must have known that she was a yard down and struggling to catch. Bev tightening up slightly, or just on the outside of Stephanie there, but striding well. Stephanie pulls further and further away to the finish there, and a personal best in a final. You can't ask more than an athlete from that. And a great run for both those girls.
And you were young, I believe, then. They introduced you as Kirstin Joseph, the youngster that shouldn't be really in that final.
I know. It was, honestly, it was like 1991. Obviously, I'd been training for a couple of years then. And my dad, because he coached my brother, I just joined in with whatever my brother was doing. So I was a bit of a multi-eventer. And I also had my brother-in-law, Tony Lester, who lots of you might know his name out there. He coached Nicola Sanders, Abby Yepatang, and Marlon Devonish, and Roger Black, and Mark Richardson. So he had like a really good group. And they were all, and so he kind of like took over when I started to get a bit more serious with the athletics. He took over, but I didn't want to give up long jump from the multi-events. So I also used to go to Willesden and long jump with Dave Johnson. And I think it was that training specifically, I split my time. So every Sunday I did like a double session with Dave up in Willesden. And then during the week, I did most of my work with Tony, which was really heavy on the sprint and technical stuff. And I just had a really good year. I mean, I just, you know, I can't think of anything specifically that I did. I just trained, and I trained seriously. I was training 5 days a week because I could. And yeah, and that was the result. It was my PB. I ran a PB in the semi to get me into the final. No one expected me to be in the final, by the way. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, no, to be fair, that's what the commentator said at the time.
Yes.
You know, you were surprised to be in the final.
Yeah, and they called me the young Kirstin Joseph, and I treasure that commentary because I was probably one of the oldest in the race. I was 28 at the time, and I ran 7:59 in the semi, and I think ran 7:61 or 62 in the final. But it was like huge for me, absolutely huge. Yeah, it was great. Great memory.
It was up against some a very talented lineup, wasn't it? At the end of the day, it really, really was. Yeah. Some great names that I remember from years ago. So now, obviously, you come from you've always been into athletics. You've done for multi-eventer, and then I see you did your first Masters event in 2004. Your first international 2004 in Denmark. So what gave you the impetus to say, well, I'll start Masters? You know, did you retire for a bit and then did the Masters come in again later on in your life?
No, that's a good question. It was pretty much by fluke. I competed for Milton Keynes, and we had a match at Battersea Park, a Southern League match. And obviously, you know, the officials are all there and everything. And I ran 100 and a 200. And I think I ran something like 12. I think I ran a 12.8 or something in the, yeah. I always ran the B string because obviously I was a bit older and we had like good sprinters at Milton Keynes. And after my race, one of the officials came over to me and he was like, oh, he said, I noticed your age on the timesheet because I was W40 then. And he said, you know, we have like there's a whole separate entity out there called, at the time it was more veterans, we call it Masters now, but back then it was still veterans. And he says, and we have our own European Championships and we have our own World Championships. And I was like, wow, like really? And he was like, yeah, I think, look, here, go to Southern Masters, blah, blah, blah. And he wrote it down on a bit of paper because, you know, it's before we all had all this easy access to Power of 10 and everything else. And so he wrote down some information for me and I took it home. And I was like really excited, and he told me that there was this European Championships going on in Denmark that very year. And I thought, oh, I've probably missed all the entries and everything else. So I went online, looked at it all, and I hadn't missed the entries, but I didn't know anything about British Masters. So I literally did it all on my own. I went to the official website, booked my flights, booked my accommodation. I was quite late with accommodation, and I went. And it was like, I just thought, oh, well, let's just see what happens. And then when I got there, I was taken under Leslie Hopkins, bless her. I was taken under her wing, and she literally showed me, like, you have to do this and you have to go there. And because I'd never done any of that before. And it was like, it was just a huge, huge experience. And then I saw people that I remembered from my Willesden days, like Rez and Trevor Wade and Rez Cameron, and it was just like it was amazing. It was really good experience for me.
It just shows, you know, doesn't it? Obviously, people see you as like you've competed for years and years, but it just shows that everyone starts somewhere, and that first major championships or the first international day, we all remember, don't we? Because it's one of them, like, we don't know what we're doing. The little newbie comes into it. And you're like, oh, it's quite frightening, quite daunting, I think. But then it's brilliant because you do meet people that from your past. I mean, it's been fantastic. I'm involved with the Masters, you know, but I've met even to so many friends that I used to race years ago, and they're like, wow, they're still competing. Yeah. So obviously, over in Denmark, you weren't as successful as you are today, but it was a good learning and a good stepping stone. And was that a kicking point to say, do you know what, I really enjoyed this, and you want to continue?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like I didn't really do myself justice. I mean, I've got ongoing history with lower back problems, and I had that even in the Cosford days, you know, 1991, 92. I was very lucky to get. I couldn't run for maybe 3 or 4 months, and nobody knew what was wrong with me. And Richard Simmons, who was like the head of the South of England coaching, remember those days? Yeah.
I remember Richard Simmons. Yes.
Well, because I knew Donna Burkmar very well. By then, I think sort of like between 91 and 2004, I transferred to Aldershot as my club. And he just sort of said to me, he goes, Kirstin, you know, you've got potential. I can get you a referral. So he got me a referral to the to Northwick Park, and I was under a consultant's sort of like care there. And I had a bone scan, and they detected that I had a stress fracture on L3, L4. And I think from that moment, I've always, all through my running days, I've always had a problem with that. So by the time we got to 2004, I'd had this massive problem with my piriformis, and there was a guy there called Marty. I can't remember what his surname is now, but he had a strange way of doing massage and stretching and stuff, and he got me through the rounds. And I felt like, wow, if only I could go without feeling this and without the sciatic pain and without, I think I could do well. I think I could medal. I kept saying to myself, I think I could medal. You know, what did I know?
Well, this shows you it's that perseverance and that belief, isn't it? You go there, you're not quite right. And whilst I've done quite a few interviews now, I always find that all of us athletes do have issues in some sort of way, you know. And it's how we deal with it. And I think we're a special breed, because no matter what, we take a lot of knockdowns, but we always seem to get back up.
It's a mindset.
It is.
Definitely. I think Donald mentioned it in his interview as well. And I know you did, Jason, who I know really well because I train with his group, most Fridays. Yeah. And both of them mentioned that. And it's about believing. You know how you're feeling physically, but you can't tell yourself how you're feeling physically, because if you're going to go to the track and train, you're going to have to train, you know. And so you have to tell yourself, that'll be fine, I'm going to push through this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to, you kind of accommodate, and you almost will yourself to get through the session. And then once you've got the session done, it's like, well, that's great, I'm taking that, another one under the belt, progress.
Right, it's another step, isn't it? It's all a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So there we go. So 2004 give you that impetus to say, I really enjoyed this, I want to continue training, and obviously I want to medal. Then we come on to 2007, Riccione. I remember it very well because I was there myself. You
were a little whippersnapper.
I was young, but I was up against a friend of mine, Mark Dunwell.
I remember.
Mark Dunwell was phenomenal, and unfortunately,
he was the one to beat at the time, wasn't he?
He was remarkable. He was the one to beat. So Riccione 2007 to me was great championships. But for you, let's talk about I'm going to have to. No. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have a little talk, and then we'll go through the 100-meter final. Now, also you went to Riccione. You did come double world champion, 100 and 200 meters.
Crazy shit.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
It was crazy.
So let's have a little bit of talk about that. It must be such a fabulous feeling doing the double, and especially I think more of, would we say a little bit of the underdog in the 100 meters, or?
I mean, I was British champion, and obviously there were, there were athletes from other countries who were looking, obviously looking to see what the British ladies were doing, or the British men. I mean, I'm sure you get it with the guys as well,
Yeah.
But I never really did that, and all I focused on was myself, basically. But I knew that there were good athletes out there. Everybody was talking about a French lady who had broken the world record, and I can't remember what her name is now, but she didn't turn up. So, and this is that mindset thing again as well, like, even though somebody has broken a world record and everyone's like, well, she's going to be tough to beat, my dear friend Scott Dorset, he knew a lot of the American teams, and then he mentioned Joy Upshaw, who is a dear friend of mine now, who was breaking all the American records, and then this French lady, because Scott is a real statistician. He knows like
a little bit like himself.
Yeah, no, he really does know. And I just kept saying to him, blah, 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 I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And all I kept thinking was, they're in America. I don't know how their system works. She's in France. I don't really know how her system works. And then in 2004, I was kind of like adopted by the German ladies because I'm bilingual. My mum's German, and I got very close to the German champion as well. Right. So I knew like what I needed to be running because I knew obviously who I was going to be competing against. But in my head, I just kept thinking, well, once you put your blocks down, it's anybody's game, you know, it's anybody's game. And that's how I approach all my races. You know, I don't know who's running well, or, you know, somebody might have been injured. I mean, I went to Riccione 6 weeks previously with I had a grade 2 hamstring tear. So again, I wasn't thinking that I was going to do massive things. All my goal was, and I wrote it down, I've still got my diaries, was to make the final. And if I could make the final, it was anybody's game as far as I was concerned. And so that's like my mental approach to it.
Yeah, that's terrific, because you do need that mental approach. And I think what you've just said is quite right. Once you're in that final, you just don't know what's going to happen, because I've seen all sorts happen in finals. People blow up, they tighten up, false starts, or get an injury during it, you know, and you just don't know that the outcome. But, you know, we're going to watch that race because I think it's a fantastic race. So
tight.
Yeah, so everyone, let's go and watch Kirstin King, 100 metres, 2007. Brilliant. Kirstin, what a fabulous race. That is very tight on the line, I have to say. When we watched the video, you can't really see that you actually nicked that in the end, but that was so close. Yeah. Now, did you get the news
of the second?
There you go. So, did it take long to get that result?
Oh my gosh, it took forever, and it was between Joy, myself, and Angelika, and we knew that Angelika had got the bronze medal.
Yeah.
All the Americans are coming down from the stand, and it's like, Joy. And I was just like, no. And we were like, do you think you got it? I said, oh, I actually thought Joy had got it. And we were talking about it, and I was like, no, I think you got it. But wow, how exciting was that? My adrenaline was like, whoa, I was just like, I couldn't control myself. Blimmin' Jason Carty, wasn't it? And I didn't know Jason at the time. I didn't really know him very well at all. And he was like, did you get it? Did you get it? And I was like, I don't know. I said, so they haven't said the results yet. So he's like, come with me. And he literally, I had my rucksack on. He grabbed my rucksack and he's like pulling me. And then he's grabbing my hand and he's making me run all the way past. There was like this restaurant tent, and there was like this little VDU screen, like with, you know, with the flashing lights, and not a digital video or anything like that. It was just hilarious. And we sat there. Well, we stood there, and I was like, what? He goes, the results are going to come up here. And I was like, wow, how did you know? I didn't know anything. I was like, how do you know this? And he was like, trust me. Typical Jason, as I now know. But back then, I didn't know him from Adam. And anyway, so we're standing in front of this thing, and this light is flashing, and still nothing's coming up. And then all of a sudden, we saw the K come up. I'm not joking. I didn't even wait for the I to appear. Jason and myself, my bag came off my back, and we're just like holding each other's shoulders, and we're jumping up and down, and we're just like, oh my gosh, you won. And I was just like on cloud. It was surreal. It was absolutely surreal. And then it was so close, you know.
I mean, yeah, no, respect. Yeah, I mean, I've been many close races myself. I've won races by 0.01 and I've lost by 0.01. It's just.
Oh yes, me too.
Yeah, so I've lost and I've won by it. So, but that's what I'm saying. Everything, just all the emotions come out and go, I've actually done it. And I know it's like, oh, it didn't matter who won second, but to win it, and you just, it's the training, the everything that you go through, isn't it? It's not. I say to everyone that the enjoyment, you've got all that success that come over that, but it's all sweat and tears and hard work.
It just makes it so worthwhile.
It goes behind the scenes, doesn't it? That's just your end result, isn't it? Not all the work that goes in beforehand. And
no, you don't even think about that. You just think, I've got a medal and it's gold.
Yeah, and it's like, it was fantastic. And then you went on to the 200.
Well, and the 200 is not my great. I love running the twos, don't get me wrong. I love that feeling coming off the bend and everything, but it's not my strongest race. I feel like I don't have enough. I didn't really train. No, that I shouldn't say that, because that would be disrespecting Tony, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. But you've got. I mean, at the end of the day, if I look at you as in the whole of statistics wise, 60 meters looks like one of your great events, and then we're talking 100. Now, I've said it many times. I think it's very difficult to go 60, 100, and then 200, because I think in the 200 you need more speed, endurance.
And I lacked it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a 60. When I look at you, I think you're very powerful. Obviously, not a lot of people know, but they will know that you're very good at shot put as well, which is another explosive exercise. So maybe your training is not geared towards 200 as much as your 60 and 100, because it's more explosive. That's my little thought on it anyway.
Yeah, no, I just suffered more with the speed endurance work, and that's just like, if we had to do, I dreaded on a Sunday if we had to do 6.2s, which we did. I used to dread it because we have to do 6.2s off 2 minutes, and I knew already, but come number 4 I would be dragged. And I mean, we had a brilliant group. At that point then, we had like Simone Jacobs was in the group, Tracy Goddard, who's now married to my brother, Tracy Joseph. We had Alison. We had my good friend Melanie, who was a 100-meter hurdler. But we had Marcia Richardson was in the group then as well. So we had a really strong, like the elite. I mean, I was very lucky that I was allowed to train. I was a donkey at the back, don't get me wrong, but I was really lucky to be around those. And again, it feeds into that mindset as well. Like, how do these Olympians train? At the time they weren't Olympians, but they went on to become Olympians. And I think it helped me. And then there was that camaraderie, and we've talked about this as well. Like, we have this in Masters Athletics, but I had it in my little group as well. And so when I was on the floor after my 4th 200, because we were always given target times as well, based on what we wanted to run and what our goals were for that season. So obviously mine would be totally different to Marcia's. Yeah. But they would literally, I mean, I was on my knees, and they would literally, one would grab me under this arm, one would grab me, and they were like, walk. And I'm like, oh, but I can't. And my legs were jelly. But they walked me across that diagonal, and they got me to the start line. And even if I wasn't ready to go, when the whistle went, I had to go, because I just thought, I'm part of this group. I've got to do it. And, I was like Michelin Man at the end. The last 50 meters, I was just treading water. But I did all 6. And that's the training effect, that I could have quite easily said to Tony, I really can't do any more. And he would have had a go at me, but he would have said, OK, just sit this one out. But I didn't. I was determined to do all of them. So, yeah. But it was my strength.
Yeah, well, that's it. And that's where I love the 200, because I like that. I can't quite do a 400-meter training, because I think that's just a killer, or like lactic acid training. 200, I can cope with that, and I love the 200 meters.
Yeah, well, you're like a floater. You're like a gazelle.
Yeah, I like that. I haven't got that. I don't think I've got the general power to be a great 60 or 100 meters. I'm not bad at 100 meters. I can't complain.
What do you mean you're not bad at 100 meters?
Yeah, no, I'm not bad at the 100 meters, but I don't class me 100 meters. I'd rather have the 2. But anyway, going back to your good self there. So the 200 meters.
Well,
Riccione.
Totally relaxed. Totally chilled, because I never expected to get the gold medal in the 100. So now, number one, my confidence was way up. And because what I didn't do was what I didn't say was that I think in the final I ran 12:90 something, but in my semi I'd run a 12:73, and I hadn't run those sort of times for ages. So my confidence was like right up there, and I can only describe it when people ask me about it. It's like there's a ball in my it's not even in my stomach, it's like in my rib cage, and I just felt invincible. I thought no one can beat me now, and I really believed that and felt that. So I was very relaxed, and not in an arrogant way, but in a way that was like, it was like my little secret. Only I knew what I was thinking and how I felt. And so we came to the 200, and I was just like, yeah, how you doing? We're in the call up, and I'm chat like this, you know.
Sound like me now, Kirstin.
But no. I don't know about that, because I've been in a call room where you've been in the call room, and I could hear you above everybody else, but I was just like chatting to my girlfriends, you know. And we were chatting away, and I was just very relaxed, you know. And Angelica, I remember Angelica saying to me, okay, you got the gold for the 100, let somebody else win the 200. You keep saying you're not strong in the 200. And I said, well, I've lacked the training, because obviously with the hamstring injury and stuff, I lacked the training for the speed endurance. I said, but you know, if I can get a medal, and I think I can, then I'm going to go for it. And she was like, yeah, good. Yeah, let's just, you know, we just have fun. But Joy and Nicole Alexis was in there. She was called Nicole Barreley as well. And again, she was very good. They did, you know, like when you give eye contact and you go, oh, all right, none of it. It was just like, no, we're not even engaging with you. But it was fun. And then we walked out, and you know, even as we're walking out, Angelica and myself are still talking, and I think, you know, I got through the round, I got through the semi-final. Joy was in my semi-final, and I was inside her. I think I had lane 3 and she had lane 5 or something, and we came off the bend, and I was in front, but I just knew how much I still had in the tank. And to me, I just thought, as long as I don't sort of knock back the energy too much, if I can just maintain and just keep level with her, we'll both qualify. We were in front anyway, and it was to the first 2 to qualify. So that's kind of like what I did. And then as we were coming through to the last 20 meters, I just slowed down. And again, hindsight is a terrible thing. I shouldn't have done that, because I just thought, oh, you know, I'm not going to expend this energy because I don't really have enough in me for the rounds, because I haven't done the training. So just, you know, just like step off the gas a little bit. So that's what I did. And of course, it ended up with me not getting a very good lane draw. And that's lack of experience again. You know, I didn't really study it that well, like how that would affect me. So yeah, so in the final, I think I had lane 2, but I had everybody else who was fast on my outside. And again, it was like I ran the turn really hard. Mike McFarlane had given me a tip on how to run the 200, and he was like a huge 200-meter specialist. Thank you. And he just said to me, you got to get out as hard as you can. You hit the crest of the turn, and you use whatever speed you've managed to build up to. You use that speed to get you off the turn, and when you hit the 120, in my case it was more like the 110, you literally pick your hips up and just pump the arms, and your legs will just propel you forward. And that's what I did. I could see I was up on everybody coming off the turn, and I just went for it. And I just, yeah.
Another great performance. So we want to know a little bit about Kirstin King at training wise. So obviously throughout the years, going from the M40s to the 55s now, you're in, coming up to later stages of your 55 now.
60 next year.
Oh, you look fabulous. It keeps you young.
Oh, bless you. You know what? I'm taking that.
Believe you me, fabulous. I'm going to say that. So, how's your training developed from obviously from your 40s now to mid 55s? Has it changed much?
Oh, it's changed massively. I mean, like I said, I was with Tony Lester, and then Harry coached me, my husband, Harry King, he coached me for a while as well, and I used to go to Brunel with him, and I try and do 3 track sessions a week and then gym, which was probably once a week if I could manage that. But so I went from maybe 5 days a week when I was with Tony to maybe 3 to 4 days a week with Harry, and now I'm older and wiser. I definitely train smarter, but I would say I do 3 good sessions a week. That's it. So I don't work on a Friday for the last, I don't know, 8-10 years. I've not worked on a Friday. That's been contractually written in. So for me, I always used to say everybody else's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday training nights at the club, mine would be the Friday, Saturday and the Sunday. So those would tend to be my 3 days. So I would do a track session on a Friday and I try and get over to train with Jason's group. I mean, that came again a bit later. And on a Saturday, I would do hills or plyo or something that's not necessarily pure track, maybe a couple of strides in there as well. And then on a Sunday, I'd do gym. My physique, in order to get that power and speed, I need to do plyo work. And if I don't do plyo work, yes, I'm still strong, but I can't translate that strength into my sprint training. So for me, the plyo is like really important. So I would try and sometimes I would try and just do that. And I come home, I mean, it was only a short session, you know, quick warm up, couple of med balls, some bounding, some bunny hops, standing long. And that would be it. But I'd feel like I've done something, and it's quality as well, you know, because my time is like so precious. I make it count. When I'm at the track, it's like I don't like hanging around, I have to say.
What would be a typical track session for yourself? Have you got, like, for example, nowadays, obviously we've got speed, you've got speed, endurance and endurance. So what's a sort of typical session for you actually on the track? Or one of your favourites maybe?
Okay, so for speed, I like 60s. You know, for what we do is I do 4 times 60 meters times 3 sets. So it's kind of like a speed endurance session. So the first set will be tempo, but each, or like accelerations, just to get the body moving. Because again, as I've got older, I've found that I don't even like to count my first 2 runs on any given session, because it takes me 2 runs to get the rhythm and the body moving. So the acceleration works for me. And then the second set would maybe be ins and outs. So differentials, so 20-20-20. So now I'm kind of driving out a bit more. I'm trying to get tall, very technical. I'm trying to think of like technically how I'm lifting, and then trying to hit another gear when I get to the third cone, because that to me that's like my endurance part of the race. And then my last set would just be 90%. So and by then obviously you're running in fatigue. So to achieve the target time that you maybe set yourself becomes more difficult. So when you do achieve them, you know, I can always gauge how fast I'm running from that session. Obviously in season that will just come down. I wouldn't do, you know, I wouldn't do the 12 runs or the 9 runs. I might do 3 sets of 3 or just 6 60s. It just depends on what time of the year that we're in, really.
Do you do much on weight training?
Okay, no is the answer to that. I mean, obviously I do. We talked about this before. I think like a lot of the women in the sport, especially at my age, and my compadres, should I say, you know, my fellow competitors, when they see me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so muscly, especially the German ladies. They love it. I mean, I love them to bits. But I do bench press. My 3 main ones are bench press, cleans, even though I haven't done cleans now for well over a year, and I call them Russian split squats. I don't squat either, because again, I naturally, genetically, I'm quite muscular. I thank my dad for that. I look the split image of my dad. You know, don't call me a man. But I have quite chunky thighs. You know, I always used to say that in the photos, you know, at the end of the race. I'm kind of like the big woman in the middle of all these lovely little petite athletes. But that's just how I'm built. So I build muscle quite quickly. So I don't squat. I get quite leg heavy if I squat. So I do the single leg squats with dumbbells, like a weighted split squat, and it gives me the same. It gives me the same thing. And it's more explosive exercises. I tend to like more explosive exercises. And just recently, training with Jason on a Friday, I introduced. I mean, deadlifts are new to me. I've only been doing them for 2 years, which is like, everyone's like, well, you don't deadlift. And I was like, no, how do you do that? And again, because I'm a bit OCD about technique, I need to have somebody there to show me the correct technique. I wouldn't try and attempt to do it on my own. And this is a quote that I didn't like, but Tony always used to say, he goes, you Masters athletes are the only athletes that I know who train harder to run slower. And he always used to throw that in my face, because I know I'm never going to run 7:59 again, you know, but there's like, whatever age you're at, you can set your own targets. Who is anybody to say that you can't achieve your own little personal goals, you know?
No, you're quite right, but my coach says the same thing. He goes, training diminished returns.
Another way, a kinder way of saying it, maybe.
That's right, yeah. Honest Condon, yeah. Diminished returns. But the good thing is about Masters, when we say about age groups, it's like you scrap all your PBs again virtually, don't you?
You have to.
You scrap them because as we are diminished returns. So the idea is, in my view, is if you can run at the same time 2 years later, then have you progressed, because you're not going on a sliding scale downwards. So there's that other way. So as a new age group comes in, you do set yourself, I think, new targets. Or do you think women find it more difficult through the years than more challenging than men because of the issues that women go through the life?
I mean, I don't want to just like cast aspersions on male athletes, but
be careful.
Just from a physical point of view, absolutely, because, you know, we have children, you know, we tend to be the home keepers, you know, we tend to be the main person in the home as well, looking after the children. So when you have all of those responsibilities and go out and work as well, you know, it's like that. How many balls can you keep in the air at any given time? And you have to make it work for yourself. So, you know, I know for me, and you know, what works for me doesn't work for everybody, but for me, I didn't, I set up my own little company initially when the kids were younger. I've got 2 children, by the way, 25 and 23 now. Neither of them into sport. Kirstin. I had them late. But yeah, I think when they were younger, I worked from home. I had my own little office here, and I downed tools at 3:30, and then I'd sort them out, do the homework and everything with them, go into the kitchen and stuff. And then once they were settled by about 6 o'clock, then I would go and do my thing. You know, I made it, by that time Harry would be home, and if he wasn't coaching, when they were very young, they just got dragged along. You know, we had buckets and spades. It was like going to the seaside, going to the track, because they could play in the sandpit while mum and dad were training, you know, or coaching and stuff. So they were always around that. And yeah, and then obviously with work, you know, just trying to fit the work home life in, and then still try and find time for training. And then as you get older, the menopause. I mean, you know, I noticed Michelle is doing there was something on Facebook where Michelle has been talking a lot about menopause, and also my good friend Kim Valenti. I think she's W45 age group now. She again does a lot of research into the menopause, and I was very fortunate. I didn't really suffer too much with that, but there are a lot of women out there, you know, when we meet up and you hear the conversation, it affects you physically. So things that you maybe were able to do last year, all of a sudden it's like, what happened? Like, I've not done anything different, but I'm just really struggling. And that's massive, because it affects your, your belief system as well. Like, whoa, is this it now? Is this how it's going to be? So I think from a physical point of view, pregnancy, again, I was quite determined to train through both of my pregnancies, and I'd be down the track in Guildford with my big, like, throwers belt on, my Velcro belt, with like come up to here, ankle weights, 5K ankle weights on each leg, and I'd be, just power walking down the track. And when they did a circuit after the session, I try and do the circuit. My belly was hitting the ground before I could actually bend my arms because I was so big. But I did it because I felt like if I could do it for as long as possible whilst I was pregnant, then when I come out of the pregnancy, it will be quicker for me to get my body back. After the second child, it's a bit harder. And nobody talks about this, like nobody really, I think, not appreciates it. We do as women when we all line up for the race. It's like it's like a sisterhood, we know the struggles we've had, and that's why I admire like somebody like Gio, who's a good friend of mine. I mean, she's got 5 children, and she's still at the top. She's still a world champion, and the work ethic that she's had to put in to be able to do that, and she coaches. That's commitment. It's about commitment.
Yeah, because I was just going to touch on, I always see that there seems to be less women participating in Masters, especially in the internationals. You'll see the numbers drop off. Do you think that is because of a lot of the issues that go through that, obviously we don't know much about, or we don't talk about it? Do you think there's a lot of loss, as you say, through mental, because it's such a tough time?
Well, and also the physical toll on the body. We've had, it's not just the wear and tear that we all go through doing track and weights and whatever, but we've also, our internal organs have all been sort of like moved around and things as well. And there's a lot of, dare I say it, gynecological issues as well as you get older, and not with everybody, but, it's something that happens. And, you just have to find a way. People that don't know me very well won't know that I had my own issues with hormone imbalances. I had alopecia for 2 years. I had a massive bald patch on the back of my head, which I covered well because I've got a lot of hair, so I could pin it and do things with it. But all of that affects you psychologically as well, because you start, it's a distraction, I think women have a lot to deal with. I feel like men don't necessarily have those. You have similar things like as you get older with the prostate and stuff like that. There's a lot of talk going on about that at the moment. But I feel like women, we put our bodies through a lot. So for any woman who's out there putting herself on the line at a world championships or European championships or even a British championships, we know the struggle.
Well, you've been out there, you've done it for the women, you're there for the women.
Yeah, okay. Totally.
That's 2008 is Clermont-Ferrand in France. Bet 45?
Yes,
and then you break the British record 60 metres?
Yes.
In
the semi-final.
Yeah, 8:07?
Yes. God, Darren, I'm impressed. Woohoo!
So the British record's there. It's not your first British record. We'll go on to that in a bit. But yes, and then for me that was a great performance. But for me, as a 200-metre person, as you well know, the 200-metre final, which I'm going to show a clip of this.
Okay.
Because drawn in lane 2. Now, for me, if somebody give me 200-metre final, lane 2, that's me out the medals. No doubt about it. I'd be looking at that thinking there's not much chance. And if I'd seen anyone in that lane 1, lane 2, I'd be thinking they're out of it. They're not going to get anything. But let me tell you, Kirstin, you have proved me wrong. So we're going to see this little video because I think it's remarkable. Kirstin, what can I say? A bronze medal from lane 2. And not just that, but I'm telling you, that final curve, you come off probably, you might have been in front or level, but to be from lane 2 with the downhills, watching it, if you'd been in the outside, who knows, you probably could have won that.
It's funny because like you've made me dig out all these races again, and I haven't watched. I mean, the Claremont one I've not watched for years. I mean, I had to find. I've got a CD in the office here, and I think who did it? Trevor Wade did it for me from Claremont, and I'm looking through it, and I was like, you kind of forget like what you achieve sometimes. And it's been great. So thank you for that. But no, it has. It's been really good. And I was obviously banking on running a semi-final because I knew in the semi-final, everyone, you know, Harry, Tony, all the coaches, they've all said to me, you got to run your semi-final like a final to get you to the final. So I was kind of banking on that. So hence my lane draw, because they took out the semi-final and we just went straight from the first round to the final. But it didn't affect, at the time, I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about that at all. I just thought, lane 2, brilliant. I can see everybody else on my outside.
Do you know what, Kirstin? That probably did you a favour.
Yeah, totally.
Because if I'd gone into that race, I would have thought, that's it, no chance.
Yeah.
So that little bit of, I don't know if you call it naivety or positive thinking. Whatever it was,
positive thinking. I like that.
Yeah, positive thinking was it. But then the other bit of me was saying, if you'd run a better race, you would have probably gone better from a bronze medal. You could have possibly won that race. So when you look at it that way, terrific performance.
Yeah.
But it was worthy of that performance. Was worthy of a gold medal in my eyes. That was like thereabouts. You know, I know you can't say never, but it was. No. It was a fabulous 200-meter run because you went off like a bat out of hell.
I know.
It was like whoosh. I was like, well, you know. And the only reason you got beat it was the downhills. You see that swoop down. And then, Kirstin, you went missing for 10 years. What was all that about?
Well, work, life, things happen. And I just it was just the traveling and the commitment, and I still trained. I mean, I still did the British championships. Those became my goals then. But for me, especially in a championship year, knowing that I wasn't going to be at a championship, it was kind of like a challenge, you know, because I wanted to be able to post a time that would equate to me being able to be in a final at a championships. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So those were my goals, and they kept me going. You know, it kept me going. I'm getting older now, and I still believe I've got that one good race in me. You know, I still believe I can run a good time over 60, maybe over 100 outdoors. 2018, I set the ground down. Christmas time on Christmas Day 2017, I said I want to go to Madrid and I want to do indoor Europeans. I've never done an indoor Europeans, by the way, never done an indoor Europeans, and I want to do one more world outdoor, and it will be a 10-year kind of like homecoming kind of. It meant so much. It sounds so pathetic, but it meant so much to me, honestly. It meant so much.
It's not pathetic then, is it?
No. Thank you.
No. It's brilliant. You've had that drive and that saying, I want to do this. And you've said, that's it. This is about me now. And I want to go. And what a fabulous performance again.
Well, Madrid, I mean, the European indoors, for me, it was like a homecoming, because all the athletes I'd competed against in 2007 and who I went to Lahti, but I was injured in Lahti, and I kind of saw them. I was on the peripheral in Lahti, but they remember, you know, we remember each other. It's like, oh, look, and oh, hi. And I was just so, I had to keep a lid on it, because I felt like I was living off my adrenaline. And I thought, if I use this up, I'm not going to have anything in the race. I literally physically had to make a mental note to just kind of like, just keep it down, because I was so excited to see everybody and be in that arena again. And you know, and I had great support as well from the team guys and the medical team, because again, I'd torn my calf before we went out there, and it was yeah, it was special, very special. Madrid was very special.
Yes, and it was another record.
Madrid, yeah, I think I broke the record before I went out there. I ran 8:35 at the British Championships.
That is correct.
I ran 8:35 twice.
And then you've got and then to Malaga, then, isn't it?
Malaga coming off Madrid was perfect, because I said 2018. They were both in 2018, and I was in such good shape. Going into Madrid, I actually, there's a PT in my local gym. Sid Bourne is my the gym owner where I go. It's a real spit and sawdust gym, and one of the PTs in there, Tom Ford, just between here and here, get me strong, because this is where I keep breaking down, and he worked with me on that, but he also looked at my diet. Because I have irritable bowel. I've been diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah, bronze medal, wasn't it, in Malaga, over 2?
In the 200, I got that was another surprise. Who knew that I would get the,
well, it's interesting, because I'm gonna show a few clips before you
can mention my silver medal in the 100, Darren. It's okay.
Sorry?
I said you can mention my silver in the 100. I said I know it wasn't gold, but it's permissible.
Listen, we've seen 100 metres, but we haven't seen you run a 200 metres outdoor. First of all, I want to see the Madrid 60 metres.
I loved that race. I cried my eyes out.
When I watch that, your first 100 metres is
awesome.
bang.
I know. I ran better 100 there than I did in the final of the 100. I know I did. I know. I felt it. I could feel that I ran better.
It was the home straight, wasn't it? Last 50 metres, closing you down. And you're like, can you hang on? Unfortunately, you didn't. You got a bronze medal there.
Yeah.
But the turn was fabulous.
Yeah, it's the best turn I think I've ever run in my life. I thought I was actually going to elevate. I thought I was going to take off coming off the bend, and I remember feeling that as I'm racing. I actually remember feeling that. I just felt like I felt as light as a feather. I just did.
We go from 2019. So what is the future hold for Kirstin?
Well, you know, those close to me know that I've always said that I probably can't see myself doing this at 60.
Right, okay. So what you're saying is it could be a swan song, international swan song in Finland. It's Finland, isn't it?
Yeah.
In 2022. So I suppose, do you have anyone that you aspire to as Masters athletics, and what do you think of the whole Masters scene, whole Masters sport?
Well, the whole Masters sport has been like, I don't know what I would have done without it, in terms of, for me, it's a massive stress release, just the physical training and then getting to the competitions. It's almost like it's a hobby, but it's a serious hobby. So for me, it's kept me sane, because again, as a woman, you're a mother, a wife, you know, you're always something else to somebody. But when you get on the track as a woman in Masters athletics, you're just Kirstin King, or, you know, people like Marie Kay. We're close, and Joy and Angelica. I mean, they're my three, you know, one Australia, one in America, and one in Germany. The standout one for me as a master is Renee Henderson, you know, who's a phenomenal, the Jet. they call her, American. And again, I built a friendship with her as well. Marie obviously goes without saying, Marie Kay, but she's retired now. But Renee, to run, I mean, I watched her run. I sadly didn't get past the semi-final in Lati, but to watch her run 12:2 at the age of 45, I'm just like, boom, you know, like my head can't cope with it. And my good friend Angelica was right behind her running 12:20 something as well. And I'm just like, how are these women doing that? And it's the dedication and the mindset. Some of it is genetics as well. You know, if you don't have the genetics, no matter how hard you work, you may never still be of a certain level.
Well, the good thing is it does bring back that sometimes you inspire yourself by watching old footage.
Yeah.
And you go, it gives you that drive. I sometimes watch old footage because if I'm not feeling too good, I watch the old footage and it makes me want to go out and train, thinking, I want a bit of that again, that feeling. You can't keep that feeling. So sometimes play your own videos that you've done brilliant at, and that will inspire you, not just others, but yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it's been fantastic. It's been a privilege. And I hope I'll see you on the track very soon. And we'll see if Kirstin King retires at 60, but we'll see. No one can retire as a master.
Darren, thank you very much for having me as well. And I'm honoured. I feel very flattered and honoured that you asked me to come on. So thank you. It's
been brilliant. Thank you very much, Kirstin. And thank you very much for watching. It's been fantastic. And I'll catch you all soon on the track. Take care of yourselves.